Hi, okay, this story deals with sexual violence and it is quite brutal at points. I'm just warning you now, but beyond that, it's also an example of amazing human spirit. Please stay with the story because I promise I can prove to you in this story that sometimes the human spirit is just amazing. The branch was coming towards her. The car keys were gone. The phone was smashed. The house lights were on, but she couldn't get to the house. The car door was the only weapon she had. Sometimes it just takes everything inside of you, every bit of strength that you have to just keep going, to get through the worst thing you've ever experienced. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Thanks if you've gotten in touch about the last episode, the suicide episode. Not easy. Not an easy episode, but, you know, if everything in life was easy, then it wouldn't be a challenge. And I bloody love a challenge. It's my favourite thing. I'm not kidding. Sometimes I think about like subjects I'd like to cover on the podcast and I think, nah, there's no way that I can possibly cover that. And then I secretly I secretly challenge myself when I'm like, maybe I will cover this subject. Maybe I will find a way to do this. So, yeah. I know that wasn't an easy episode. And I'm just going to warn you, the story in this episode, it's not easy either. But it really is an example of true human spirit. So please stay with me. Stay with me on this, even when it gets really rough. And it does get rough. I had to stop my research halfway through because it's so rough and I got so angry about what happens in the story. But just, yeah, stay with me. Okay, shout outs just before the story. So, I'm going to say a massive shout out to Sandra Kelly. Hello, Sandra. Sandra, you are wonderful on the Facebook group. You are so... you've contacted me about things and you just... Honestly, Sandra, I can't thank you enough. This your niece, your wonderful niece, got in touch. Carly Bree, to ask for a shout out. But you know what, Sandra, a shout out was coming your way anyway because you are just wonderful. So, hey Carly, hey Sandra. Tanya Simmons, hello Tanya. Tanya got in touch with me, right, and I absolutely love this. She got in touch with me to tell me that she's got a 10-month-old son who dances to the music at the end of the podcast, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's brilliant. So hey, Tanya. And lastly, Kayla Griffiths. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. Okay. I've already warned you. The story is brutal. It's dark. But it's about human strength. Okay? Let's go. Alright, let's talk about Amy, who is 25 and is living in Connecticut, USA. Amy's got a lovely boyfriend, Stephen. Now, she's living with Stephen and they're really happy. Stephen's got 2 young children from a previous relationship. He was a young guy and, not being the most careful that you could have ever have been, Stephen got 2 different women pregnant. Which I know makes him sound like he's a bit of a dick. But Stephen, in the face of these one night stands that he had, said to the women that he was, that he'd had the one night stands with, if you don't want these kids, I'll take them. I'll raise them. I'll raise them as my own. I'll take the responsibility of, it was my fuck up. I didn't use a condom. We got sexy. And if you don't want these babies, I'll take them. Because I want them. So, good on Stephen. Good on it. You know what I mean? Good on that man. So Stephen's 24. And he meets Amy. And she's 25. And Amy's really who our story is about tonight. They meet one night in a bar. They have a good conversation. And Stephen is upfront straight away. And he says, look, here's the thing. I have got 2 young kids because, I didn't wear a condom one night, basically. Or 2 nights. Didn't wear a condom. Now I've ended up with 2 kids. And, I'm looking after these. And Amy's like, that's okay. That's fine with me. I'm okay. I'm happy to be your girlfriend. And we'll raise these kids. Why don't I move in with you and we will raise these kids. Okay? So it's going really well for the 2 of them. They fall madly in love. I know Amy's living with Stephen and she's raising these 2 young kids. So in terms of work, Amy does a couple of different jobs to make ends meet. She works as a receptionist at a hairdresser's part-time. And she also works in a restaurant part-time as a server. So life's going pretty well. But something terrible is about to get in Amy's way. As I said, Amy works in a restaurant and she'd gotten to know her fellow staff team pretty well, including all the kitchen staff, one of whom was a man called Jose. Jose was a dishwasher in the restaurant. Now, Amy had known him for 2 years. I was going to do a slight sidebar here and tell you this. I used to be a dishwasher in a hotel when I was about 16. When I was about 16 years old, a new hotel not far from my house popped up. And it was this new big kind of amazing hotel. And they advertised for staff to come and work. Now, they didn't really advertise specific jobs. They were just we're looking for people to come and work in the hotel. And so I submitted an application and I got to the recruitment evening, which was the weirdest thing I've ever been to. It's just lots of people in a room all chatting to the manager, the chief executive, the head of HR. There's no actual interview process. It was just a chat. It was weird, fucking really weird Just like, so you just meet them and you chat. And I was 16. I didn't have a fucking clue what was actually going on. Didn't really know what was happening. I'm just like walking around the whole night talking to people, going, oh, yes, this is lovely, this is great, not really knowing where it's going. But it went quite well, and by the end of the night, I'm thinking, yes, I've got myself a job in this fancy hotel. And I'm imagining, right, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be like a bellboy. I'm going to get myself that wee, really like lovely bellboy uniform, or maybe I'll be like a glamorous receptionist. Maybe they'll be like, oh, Barry, you'd be a great receptionist. And I get a phone call a week later and they're like, I would really like to employ you in the hotel. And I'm like, yes, here we go. I'm like, really like to employ you in the kitchen. I'm like, okay, kitchen. I'm 16 and I can't cook, but okay, I'll go with it. I'm thinking like, right, like, okay, maybe I'm going to be a food taster or like head of vegetables or something. I don't know. And the job that they give me is in the dishwashing area. Okay, fine. Right, I'm not a dick. I am not above doing any job in the world. Give me the most menial task in the world. I will do it. If life went tits up for me tomorrow, I would take on the most menial job that it had to be. Do you know what I mean? If I had to make money, that's what I would do. But then they took me to this specific point in the kitchen, and it was the pot sink. And the pot sink is, well, as it might suggest, the place where the pots get washed. These like huge, big industrial pots. I mean, literally, I'm not that tall, so I could literally have climbed inside of them to fucking clean them. They were about the size of me. They were actually ridiculous. And they had, these are pots from a kitchen in a hotel. They had like 3 days worth of soup and stew fucking soaked into them. And there I was, cleaning the pots, doing my job. Anyway, I did that for a full year. And, I mean, I think I was quite good at it. Obviously, every single time I ever saw the bellboys in their hats and their wee waistcoats looking fabulous, I was raging with the jealousy that I didn't get that job. But, that's okay. Life is here to teach you lessons. And I learned that, fuck it. Sometimes you just need to do the job for the money. And you know what? That's what I'll just do for the rest of my life. Anyway, I'm sorry. I've gone way off the topic here. I've ranted about that's why I'm telling you a random story about myself being 16 years old. Anyway, let's get back to who we need to be talking about. We need to talk about Amy. Beautiful Amy. And she's working in the restaurant, as is dishwasher Jose. One night, Amy finishes her shift around 11 o'clock and she gets into her car as usual to drive home. Now she's driving out of the car park and she sees Jose coming towards her and she thinks, maybe something's wrong. Oh, maybe there's a problem. Okay. So she slows the car down and Jose is signalling at her to roll the window of the car down. So she does, and she asks him if he's okay. And Jose says he's okay, but he's had some beers in the kitchen tonight. Him and some of the boys who work in the kitchen, they've had some drinks. And he's worried now that he's over the limit to drive home. And he says to Amy, is it possible that you could drive me home? He says it's not too far away from here. I just need a lift because I don't want to drive. And Amy, being the lovely person she is, and having known Jose for 2 years, she says, yeah, okay, of course. Jump in the car and I'll take you home. So they start driving, and Jose is directing Amy to his home. But the further and further that they go, Amy is starting to get alarm bells ringing in her head. They're heading into a really wealthy part of Connecticut. And this is, not being presumptuous, it's just being honest. Amy's thinking, I'm pretty sure Jose doesn't live in this area. So she keeps asking him if they're definitely going in the right direction. And he says, yeah, it's just a bit further. Just keep going. Amy drives for 45 minutes under Jose's directions, and now she's starting to panic. She knows that they are definitely not in the right area where Jose lives. So her body starts to shake. And she pulls the car over to the side of the road and she says to him, are you sure this is where we should be? Now they're in a really posh suburban neighbourhood. She says to Jose, I'm quite scared and I think you need to get out of the car. This is what Jose does. He puts his hand down his pants. He takes his dick out. He looks at Amy and he says, how much? Oh God. Fuck. Ugh. Amy freaks out. She screams at him, no, I'm not interested. And she jumps out of the car. Now he's sitting in the passenger seat. She has the wisdom, thank God, to grab her phone, and she's about to call 911. But Jose gets out of the car. He comes round to where Amy is. He punches her in the face. He takes the phone from her. He puts the phone on the ground and he smashes it up by stamping on it repeatedly until it's completely broken. Jose punches Amy again, and this time she falls to the ground and she's lying by the side of the car. And she's pleading with Jose to just let her go. Just let her drive away from this situation. And he's screaming, no. Jose, and this is so horrible. He takes Amy into the back seat of her car, and for the next 45 minutes, he rapes her. Right now, they're parked in a residential area, and Amy can see the lights on in a house across the road from where this is happening, from the car that she's in. So, this commotion, it hasn't caused anyone to investigate. It hasn't caused any neighbours to put their light on or anyone to see what's happening. And she thinks, if I can just get to that house with the lights on, that's where safety is. I just need to get to that house. This is horrific. I will warn you. It's really descriptive what I'm about to tell you. The way Jose had positioned Amy was that the back door of the car was open and she was on her stomach on the back seat, and he was standing outside of the car in a standing position, raping her. As the rape continues, Amy remembers, and oh, thank God that she did. She remembers that in the car somewhere there is an old cell phone. One which, it was a disabled cell phone. It wasn't one that she was using on a daily basis. It was like an old phone. You know the way that we've all got old phones lying about. Now, here's the thing to remember. See an old phone, even if you've taken your SIM card out of it, even if it's not the phone that you're using every day, it can still call emergency services. Old phones, regardless of whether you're connected to them every day or not, you can still call 911, 999, whatever your police code is. You can still call it from an old phone. That never goes away on a phone. Please remember that, everyone. Please remember that. I bet I'm saying that and you're all like, yeah, cheers, Barry. We know. Thanks. But I genuinely, I wasn't really that aware that was the case. So here's what Amy does. While Jose is raping her, she puts her hand under the seats of the car. She's praying to God that she can find the phone. At first, she can't, and she has to be so subtle to not let Jose know that this is what she's trying to do. She just cannot find this phone. Jose is continuing to rape her, and she musters up all of the fucking strength that she has to keep her arm moving around the floor of the car, and finally, fucking yes, she finds the old phone. And secretly, without Jose knowing it, she dials 911. I mean, right, okay, I'm sorry to labour the point, but she's being raped and she finds the strength to secretly look for a phone and call 911. What a fucking woman. What a woman. Amazing. So this call, it connects, and Amy thinks, okay, this will be all over soon. So the 911 operator connects to Amy's phone, but Amy can't speak. Jose would know at this point what was happening, and she's thinking, well, maybe the 911 operator might realise that something's wrong and locate the phone. But no, the 911 operator puts the phone down. Jose is still standing in the street, bent over Amy's body inside the car, and he takes a moment to step back. He's about to try and turn Amy onto her back. And so in order to do this, and I'm sorry, I would like a better way to put this, but I don't really know how to, he needs to withdraw and then turn her over. So here's what Amy does. In the seconds that he's not holding her, she flips over and she shuts the car door. She locks the car, and now Jose is standing in the street and she is inside the car. It's now that Amy thinks, yes, I can drive away from this situation, from this fucking horror. I can drive myself away. And then she realises Jose has taken the car keys. She isn't driving anywhere because this piece of fucking shit has taken the keys. What Amy does next is worth applauding. It's worth a fucking round of applause. Amy and Jose, they end up in some sort of cat and mouse game. He's circling the car and she's showing him that she has a phone. She calls police again. And what she waits for is she waits for Jose to come close to her on the driver's side of the car And he does. And he's looking in the window at her. And he's smiling at her. Fucking smiling at her. But he's not ready for this. Amy, with absolutely furious speed, opens the driver door and she smashes Jose to the ground. He wasn't ready for Amy to act so fast. He didn't imagine that she would open that door at such a speed that it would knock him to the ground. This dickhead thought that he had her trapped in the car and that she would be too scared to leave, but she wasn't. So she hits him hard with that car door and he falls to the ground. So Amy starts to run. With the phone in her hand, she runs towards the house with the lights. Amy's approaching the house. The lights are on and she's thinking, it's okay, Jose is lying injured in the street, it's fine. And that would be a great ending to this story, but it's not. What happens next is just horrible. Jose gets up quickly from the ground and he follows Amy. Before she could reach that house and safety, Jose hits her hard on the back of the head and she falls. He takes the phone from her hand and he smashes it to bits. This is the second phone tonight that he's taken from Amy and smashed to fucking bits. Amy's lying currently only a few yards away from the house that she thought was going to be her safety. Jose drags her back by the hair. Oh, by the fucking hair. Oh, back to her car and he forces her into the passenger seat. He puts the keys into the ignition and off they go. The entire time he's calling her a bitch. He's promising her that she is in for a world of pain. Jose, in all of this panic, hasn't locked the car doors. And Amy, she starts to realise that there might be only one possible way that she was ever going to get out of this. They're travelling at high speed down a road and it's 4 a.m. in the morning. Another car is coming towards them. Amy opens the passenger door and she falls out of the car onto the road. She thinks, this is the only way that I can get away from him. What does the car that was driving towards them do? Does it stop? Does it come to a halt and help Amy? Does it fuck? It drives by. And now Amy is lying in the middle of the road with no phone. And her rapist is fucking angry. Jose stops the car. He reverses. And when Amy tries to run, he runs faster and he catches her. He puts her back into the car and he drives now for miles into a secluded spot of trees. A place where no one can find them. A forest area. Amy is begging him to stop this. She's asking him, please take me back to a place where I can get home, and he keeps telling her to shut the fuck up. She asks, oh God. Oh! She asks this question, and my God, I cannot even deal with this. She asks the question, are you going to kill me? And he replies, bitch, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. If you ever have to ask that question in your life, fuck. Jose, if I could wrap my hands around your throat right now, I would. Not only are you a terrible human being, but when a person you're terrorising asks, am I going to die? Replying, bitch, shut the fuck up is just awful. Jose, you shut the fuck up before I go all fucking Glasgow on your arse and make you feel fucking sorry. You dick. You fucking dick. Jose drags Amy by her hair through a field. He finds a spot in the field that he's happy with, and he makes Amy take all of her clothes off. He takes then all of his own clothes off, and he rapes Amy repeatedly. Now, just when you thought it couldn't get any more horrific, there's a point here right in Amy's story which I almost didn't want to tell because it's too horrible. It's almost too horrible to comprehend. So I took it out. And then I had like a really strange argument with myself. I was like, right, Barry, if you're going to tell horrible true crime stories, then you need to be aware that sometimes the details are important. And I know this. The details in a story are often what I love, but this detail is particularly horrible, and I took it out, I put it back in, and then I took it out again. But I've decided, yeah, I will just include it as part of the story. As Jose is raping Amy, she starts to bleed. And when he notices the blood, he freaks out. He starts shouting, why the fuck are you bleeding? And Amy apologises. She says, I'm sorry, I'm bleeding. And he says, you will be sorry. And he punches her in the face. As he continues to rape her, she continues to bleed. Each time Jose sees blood, he punches her once more in the face. Please now understand why I had a really hard time including that in this story. Amy was in the woods with Jose for 3 hours. For 3 hours he continually raped her. After 3 hours he put his clothes on, and Amy thought that possibly an end was coming. As she reached for her clothes, he stopped her and he told her no. She wasn't to put her clothes on. He stood over Amy's body and he drew his finger across his throat, doing the dead symbol. And Amy starts to beg him. She starts asking, what can I do to survive? And he starts talking to her in Spanish. Amy doesn't speak Spanish, so she's got absolutely no idea what he's saying. So she's begging for her life, and he keeps continuing to draw his finger across his throat and speak in Spanish. This fucking guy. He takes to now kicking Amy in the face, the stomach, He's grabbing her by the hair and he's slamming her face off the ground. She says she looked at him and she realised there was no human in his eyes. They were just dark, black eyes. There was not a bit of human in him. He then takes a large branch from a tree and he begins to beat Amy with the large branch. And what he does next, I warn you, it's horrific. He goes a few meters away from Amy and he runs at her with the branch in his hand, and at high speed he inserts it into her. He forces the branch right into her body and he continues to push it into her and he kicks it into her, and it's going further and further and further. I'm sorry, do you know what? I actually just can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. If you want to turn this off now, or I won't judge you. This is fucking brutal. So fucking brutal. I just can't. It's horrible. Right, okay. Do you know what? Stay with me, because I'm going to show you that even with that, Amy is going to prove to be incredibly strong. She's going to prove to be an incredibly strong woman. No matter how brutal things are, there's a strength inside of people to survive. Jose picks up another branch and he is attempting at this time to hit Amy's face with the branch and poke at her eyes in an attempt to blind her. So what does Amy do? Well, she does something I think any of us would do in that moment. She made her body incredibly limp. She played dead. She held her breath and she pretended that she died. Jose looks at Amy and he believes that he's killed her. At this moment, he runs away from Amy, leaving her in the field. Amy lay there for 3 hours, terrified in case Jose was going to come back. He had beaten her face so badly that she had to prise her eyelids open to be able to see. After waiting and being sure that he was gone, she removed the branch from inside of her. She slowly put her clothes back on and she moved towards where there was light. She found a house with lights on and she rang the doorbell. And when she did this at first, a man in his 50s in his pyjamas arrived at the door. And he looked absolutely horrified. Didn't know what to do. I don't quite understand that. I'm not sure that if that arrived at your door, you would necessarily know what to do. So this man, he runs upstairs and he gets his wife, who comes downstairs and brings Amy in. Amy, she tries her best to explain what's happened. And the woman puts all of the lights out in the house. She holds Amy and she says to her, "It's okay. He won't get you in this house. I promise. So police are called. Police and paramedics arrive. And I love this, right? I love this so much. A young paramedic, 23 years old, named James, was on his first night ever as a paramedic. And the first case that he ever gets is Amy. And of course, Amy is in a terrible way. Imagine you were a young paramedic and that was your first fucking case that you ever got to. My God. So James arrives with his superiors and they look over Amy and they determine that she has a broken nose, broken cheekbones, her eyes have been damaged, and she might need surgery on her eyes, and her body is in a terrible state of shock. She's covered in cuts and bruises. She is absolutely broken. She's shaking uncontrollably. And when she's shaking, she reaches out to James, the young paramedic. And she asks him, "Am I going to die?" And he's completely stunned. This is his first night on the job. And he says, "No. I'll make sure you're okay." So he takes her hand. He puts her in the ambulance and he rides with her to the hospital. When they get there, he won't let her hand go. He asks doctors if he can stay with her for a few hours just to make sure she's okay. God bless this boy. 23 and first day on the job. So he talks to Amy and she's given treatment. And when she has absolute agony, pain in her face, he just keeps holding her hand. Eventually James has to go back to work, but Amy says she'll never forget the kindness and the humility that James showed her that night. Police are called to the hospital, of course. And when Amy tells them exactly who her attacker was, I mean, she can pinpoint that. She can be like, this is exactly who this was. They go straight to Jose's home. And there he is, sleeping in his fucking bed. Sleeping and not even showered. Not even after everything that he's fucking done. He is lying in bed, covered in Amy's blood. What a fucking dickhead. He's arrested and he's charged with rape and attempted murder. Horrifically, Amy has to go to court for the trial, and the trial lasts 4 days. She has to sit in the courtroom with Jose there. But guess who comes to the courtroom? James, the young paramedic. He takes time off of his job. He sits in the courtroom and he lets Amy know he is on her side. Jose is found guilty of rape and attempted murder and he's sentenced to 80 years in prison for the crimes against Amy. Thank fucking God. Amy and her partner Stephen, they've continued their life together, and yet they've faced a horrible time. They wondered after the absolute brutality of the attack, could Amy ever have children? But the good news is, yes, she can. So Amy and Stephen are still together. They're living happily. Jose is in prison. And James, the paramedic. He pops round once a month for a catch up with Amy. Sometimes they go out for cocktails together. Amy, for me, in this story, is the absolute model of survival. I fucking love a survival story. And stories like Amy's are why. Alright, thank you for listening to this short stories episode. Thank you very much. If you want to get in touch with me again, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Email me, extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Patreon. If you want to vote for me in the Listener's Choice category in the British Podcast Awards, you can. The link is up on Facebook and on lots of other social media. You can find me. That would be lovely of you to do. Please get in touch. Please talk to me. I love it. Love it when you do. And remember... I felt like I was going to say something really wise there. And remember... And then I had nothing wise to say. Right, sorry about that. And remember... No, I've got nothing wise to say. Okay. I'll think of it for the next one. Okay. Remember to... No, it doesn't. I can't think of anything. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.